Hey, hello everyone, Wendy Show here. It's been quite a while since I've done one of these videos. The last time I did it, just we were living in a different country. We were in Italy. So here we are in Virginia now. And while I was in church today, God put in my heart that I need to get back on this. So if you've never seen one of these videos before, I call this Sunday Recap. That's when I kind of go over what I learned in church from the message I received today. Um, Today, this message is coming from Grace Bible Church in Virginia Beach. It's a really good series. We're starting a new series, and it's entitled God's Will Over My Life. And it's the first of the series, but we're looking forward to hear the rest. Some messages you hear are meant for different people, right? People are in different walks in life. Some people are trying to discover if this whole thing is real or who God is. Some people have believe in God, but they're trying to build their faith. Some people have been walking with the Lord for a while, and just continuing to grow. This particular message is only going to resonate for those of you who are already following God or have made a commitment to follow God. If you're someone who's still kind of seeking and searching, this is not going to make too much sense to you. But if you're someone who claims to believe in God and follow God, then this definitely applies to you. With that being said, let's get started. So, Pastor started out with a question that we can tend to ask ourselves is, what is God's will for my life, and why does discovering this seem so challenging at times? So, what is God's wills for my life? We kind of went into like when you're in church on Sundays, it seems like everything's good. Answers come a little bit easier, but then comes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the rest of the week, when life is hitting us, and we're like, what is you want me to do again? Like, we kind of get lost in the everyday pearls of life. So he kind of went over three things. He's like, the question of why does discovering God's will for our life seem so challenging at times? There's three things for answering that. One, it's difficult because we have so many choices. If you go to a third world country where they live on probably nickels and pennies a day, they don't have many choices. So when it comes to certain things, it's kind of easier. Even though life might be harder, making choices is easier because their choice is limited. Contrast that to us here in America. We have 100 different things to choose for lunch. A closet full of clothes, and you were trying to figure out what to wear. Like he said, a thing is kind of funny. He's like, choices make us unhappy because he's like, have a group of people over and let them ask them what they want on their pizza and see how it's going to fight. And I was like, yeah, that's so true. But if you only provide pepperoni and cheese and don't give people choices, they'll just say thank you and eat it. So that's true. We have so many choices. So that's one thing that makes it kind of challenging. The other thing he said is we crave certainty, right? When it comes to God's will, we would almost rather God just like have a personal email account or, friend him on Facebook or something and have him directly say, hey, this is what I want you to do today. And, it's him, or send a letter and it's signed and authenticated that this is from God. We want things to be certain. So when we're not certain, that causes a little bit of struggle. And then the third one is, this might lose some people, but that this question of why is it so hard is not really a good question at all. It's not useful. So why is that, right? One reason it's not useful is because knowing and executing God's will in our life doesn't guarantee a pain-free life. Often we try to follow the path of least resistance, right? What is going to cause the least amount of conflict in my life? What is going to cause the least amount of pain? Well, knowing God's will and executing His will definitely does not prevent that. And actually, God tells us the more we follow Him, the more we will kind of suffer through various things in the world. So that's one reason why this question isn't helpful. And the other reason, the other reason this isn't helpful, because there's actually a more helpful question that we should ask ourselves. Instead of asking ourselves, why is discovering God's will in my life so hard? We should ask ourselves, am I surrendering to God's will, or am I willing to surrender to God's will? So, if God was to give us that hand-carried letter saying what we can do, what's more important is the condition of our heart. If we already determined that we're going to carry out what He says, regardless of our own wants. The passage he read from was 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 3. And then we read farther into it, but I'll bring that up on the screen and we'll read through it. I'm going to read from the Amplified version. For this is the will of God, that ye be sanctified, meaning separated or set apart from sin. And then it goes into more, but we stopped there in the church for the initial part, and he wanted to focus on this being sanctified part. So being sanctified, you go back to the Greek, the meaning is the same as being holy, separated, set apart from sin, and also there's a acknowledgement of surrendering there, surrendering to God, a higher authority. So following Jesus means that we're willing to surrender to God's will even before we know what His will is, right? That means we trust Him so much that we already decided that we're willing to say yes before He even asks us to do something. So the questions we should ask yourself is, do I surrender to God's will? And as we walk through this life, do we walk with a posture of readiness to surrender to God, or are we walking in a posture of always questioning, well, hey God, tell me what you want to do, and then I'll compare it to what I want to do, and then, whatever one seems best that's best for me at the time, that's what I'm going to do. That's not surrender. That's just bargaining or that's pretty much putting your will above His. And all surrender is it's our willingness to trust God more than ourselves. They're saying like, hey, God, you created everything. You created me. You created everything in this world. You know everything. You know what's best. You want what's best. You love me more than anything and anyone. I'm just going to put my trust in you. That's what surrender is. And it's not about being perfect, because none of us are perfect, right? The only perfect person to walk this road was Jesus. But it's having the determination that we're going to walk in God's light at any given time, at any given moment, in any given circumstance. So the question that we need to ask is, am I surrendering to God today? That's what you need to ask yourself if you're a follower of God. And that was the gist of the message. Like I said, this was just the first of his series. I'm looking forward to the rest. And hey, I actually kept this under 10 minutes, so that's pretty good. I hope this was useful to you. And if you have any comments, please leave them below. And I want to try to crank more of these out. All right, take care. Have a blessed day.